Have you ever wondered why certain souls seem drawn to experiences that others might consider obsessive or overwhelming? Why do some people become completely consumed by their spiritual journey, their need to heal others, or their relentless pursuit of truth? What if these intense drives aren't weaknesses at all, but rather divine gifts bestowed upon chosen souls? Today, we're diving deep into a profound revelation that challenges everything we think we know about spiritual addiction. Dr. Brian Weiss, renowned psychiatrist and pioneer in past life regression therapy, has identified 6 unique addictions that the universe only allows in souls who have been specifically chosen for a higher purpose. These aren't the destructive addictions we typically think of, but sacred compulsions that actually elevate consciousness and serve the greater good. If you've ever felt like you can't stop seeking, can't stop helping, or can't stop growing spiritually, this message is specifically for you. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you view your own spiritual journey and those intense feelings you can't seem to shake. If you feel aligned with this vibration, subscribe and activate notifications. Leave in the comments, "I'm ready to evolve spiritually." Understanding these divine addictions requires us to first grasp what it means to be a chosen soul. According to Brian Weiss's extensive research through thousands of past life regression sessions, chosen souls are beings who have volunteered for accelerated spiritual growth in this lifetime. They've agreed to carry heavier karmic loads, experience more intense lessons, and serve as bridges between the physical and spiritual realms. These souls often incarnate with what Weiss calls spiritual GPS systems, internal guidance mechanisms that constantly pull them toward their divine purpose. Unlike ordinary souls who might live relatively comfortable lives focused on material success and basic happiness, chosen souls are wired differently. They carry within their spiritual DNA a restlessness that can only be satisfied through service, growth, and connection to higher consciousness. Weiss explains that these souls have usually lived many lifetimes, accumulating wisdom and experience across different cultures, time periods, and spiritual traditions. They return to Earth not because they need to learn basic lessons, but because they've chosen to be spiritual teachers, healers, and way showers for humanity's collective awakening. The universe recognizes these souls and equips them with specific tools for their mission. Among these tools are 6 particular types of addiction that might seem overwhelming to others, but serve as divine navigation systems for those who carry them. The first challenge these chosen souls face is recognizing that their intense drives aren't character flaws or signs of weakness. Society often misunderstands spiritual intensity, labeling it as obsession or unhealthy attachment. Many chosen souls spend years believing something is wrong with them because they can't find satisfaction in conventional pleasures or typical life goals. They might struggle with feeling different, isolated, or misunderstood. Their families and friends might worry about their extreme spiritual practices, their inability to settle for superficial relationships, or their constant need for deeper meaning. This misunderstanding can lead to self-doubt and attempts to suppress their natural spiritual inclinations. Another significant challenge is the intensity of these divine addictions themselves. Unlike chemical dependencies that numb consciousness, these spiritual compulsions actually heighten awareness, which can be overwhelming. Chosen souls often report feeling like they're living with their spiritual nerves exposed, constantly receiving downloads of information, energy, and emotional impressions from both the physical and non-physical realms. The weight of knowing can become crushing. When someone is addicted to truth-seeking, they can't simply ignore injustice, deception, or surface-level explanations. When they're addicted to healing others, they feel every person's pain as if it were their own. These intense sensitivities can lead to burnout, depression, or a desire to escape their calling entirely. Share in the comments an experience where you felt the presence of spiritual mentors or an inner transformation. As chosen souls navigate their spiritual journey, they undergo profound transformations that occur in distinct phases. Brian Weiss has observed that these transformations follow a predictable pattern, though the timeline varies greatly among individuals. The first phase is often called the awakening storm. This is when the divine addictions first manifest strongly, usually triggered by a life crisis, spiritual experience, or simply reaching a certain level of soul maturity. During this phase, the chosen soul might feel completely overwhelmed by their new drives and sensitivities. They might become obsessed with meditation, spend all their free time studying spiritual texts, or feel compelled to help everyone they encounter. The second phase is integration and understanding. As the soul learns to work with their divine addictions rather than against them, they begin to understand their true purpose. They discover that their intense drives aren't random, but are specifically designed to prepare them for their unique mission. This is when they often find their spiritual community, teachers, or begin formal training in healing modalities. The third phase is mastery and service. The chosen soul learns to channel their divine addictions in ways that serve both their own growth and the collective good. They no longer feel overwhelmed by their spiritual drives, but instead use them as powerful tools for transformation and healing. This is when they often step into their role as teachers, healers, or guides for others. Throughout these transformations, Weiss emphasizes the importance of understanding that these processes can't be rushed. Each phase serves a crucial purpose in developing the soul's capacity to handle their divine mission. Many chosen souls make the mistake of trying to skip directly to the service phase without fully integrating their gifts, which often leads to spiritual burnout or incomplete healing. Real-life examples of these transformations abound in Weiss's case studies. He describes patients who went from feeling like spiritual misfits to becoming powerful healers, teachers, and guides. One woman's addiction to seeking truth led her to uncover past life traumas that were affecting thousands of souls in her spiritual lineage. By healing these ancient wounds, she freed not only herself, but also dozens of family members from recurring patterns of addiction and depression. The impact of recognizing and embracing these divine addictions extends far beyond the chosen soul's personal journey. When someone fully accepts their spiritual calling, it creates ripple effects that touch everyone in their sphere of influence. Family members often report feeling more peaceful, inspired, or spiritually connected when their chosen soul relative fully steps into their power. These souls serve as spiritual catalysts in their communities. Their addiction to growth pushes others to question their own limiting beliefs. Their addiction to healing creates safe spaces where others can begin their own healing journeys. Their addiction to truth helps expose deceptions and illusions that keep humanity trapped in lower consciousness. Weiss has documented how chosen souls often become magnets for others who are ready to awaken. People are drawn to them without understanding why, seeking guidance, healing, or simply the peace that comes from being around someone who has aligned with their divine purpose. This isn't coincidental. It's part of the universal plan for spiritual awakening on Earth. The emotional impact on loved ones can be profound as well. When a chosen soul finally embraces their divine addictions instead of fighting them, their relationships often transform completely. Partnerships deepen into soul connections. Parent-child relationships become opportunities for mutual spiritual growth, and friendships evolve into spiritual alliances. However, this transformation isn't always smooth. Some relationships fall away as the chosen soul's vibration rises. This can be painful, but is often necessary for their continued growth. Weiss reminds us that not everyone in our lives is meant to accompany us on our entire spiritual journey, and this is perfectly natural and healthy. If this message touched your soul, leave a like so more consciousnesses can awaken to the light. Now, let's explore the 6 specific divine addictions that Brian Weiss has identified through his decades of research and clinical practice. These aren't theoretical concepts, but real spiritual phenomena he's observed in thousands of chosen souls. The first divine addiction is the addiction to truth-seeking. Chosen souls with this addiction literally cannot rest when they encounter deception, half-truths, or surface-level explanations. They're compelled to dig deeper, ask uncomfortable questions, and seek understanding beyond conventional wisdom. This addiction often manifests as an insatiable appetite for spiritual knowledge, ancient wisdom, or hidden histories. Weiss describes patients who would spend days researching a single concept, following synchronicities like breadcrumbs and having vivid dreams that contained missing pieces of information. This addiction serves the collective by exposing illusions and bringing hidden truths to light. These souls often become researchers, investigative journalists, spiritual teachers, or whistleblowers who help humanity see beyond the veil of deception. The second is the addiction to healing others. This goes far beyond wanting to help people occasionally. It's a consuming need to facilitate healing wherever it's needed. Chosen souls with this addiction feel physical discomfort when they're around suffering and can't rest until they've offered assistance. They often have natural healing abilities, whether through touch, energy work, counseling, or simply their presence. Weiss has worked with many souls who discovered they could literally absorb others' pain and transmute it through their own energy systems. This addiction prepares them to be healers, counselors, energy workers, or medical professionals who serve from a place of genuine divine love rather than ego or financial motivation. The third divine addiction is the addiction to spiritual growth. These souls are never satisfied with their current level of consciousness and feel a constant pull toward expansion and evolution. They might meditate for hours, attend every spiritual workshop available, or constantly seek new teachers and practices. While others might view this as spiritual materialism, for chosen souls it's a necessary part of their development. This addiction ensures that they continue expanding their capacity to hold light and serve at higher levels. Weiss notes that these souls often have access to spiritual experiences and insights that prepare them to guide others through similar expansions of consciousness. The fourth is the addiction to justice and fairness. Chosen souls with this addiction become physically and emotionally agitated when they witness injustice, whether on a personal, social, or global scale. They can't simply mind their own business when they see suffering caused by unfair systems or treatment. This addiction drives them to become advocates, activists, lawyers, or reformers who work to create more equitable systems. Weiss explains that these souls carry memories from lifetimes where they experienced or witnessed great injustices, and they've returned with a mission to help balance the scales. Their addiction to fairness serves as a driving force for positive social change. The fifth divine addiction is the addiction to deep, authentic connection. These chosen souls cannot tolerate superficial relationships or small talk. They crave soul-level connections and often feel lonely in crowds of people who aren't operating from authentic depths. This addiction pushes them to create spaces where real intimacy and spiritual connection can flourish. They often become marriage counselors, group facilitators, community builders, or spiritual teachers who help others learn to connect authentically. Their addiction to real connection helps heal the epidemic of loneliness and spiritual isolation that affects so many people. The sixth and final divine addiction is the addiction to serving something greater. These souls feel empty and restless when their lives revolve around personal concerns alone. They need to know that their actions are contributing to something larger than themselves, whether that's human evolution, planetary healing, or cosmic consciousness expansion. This addiction ensures that they align their career, relationships, and daily choices with their soul's mission. They often become missionaries, non-profit workers, spiritual teachers, or entrepreneurs who create businesses that serve both profit and purpose. Write in the comments, "Today I free myself from old patterns and embrace the light of spiritual renewal." Understanding and working with these divine addictions requires specific approaches that honor their sacred nature, while maintaining healthy boundaries. Brian Weiss has developed several techniques for chosen souls to manage these intense spiritual drives without burning out or becoming overwhelmed. The first solution is learning to create what Weiss calls sacred containers. Since these addictions involve channeling intense spiritual energy, chosen souls need to establish clear boundaries around when, where, and how they engage with their divine drives. This might mean setting specific hours for spiritual practice, creating designated spaces for healing work, or establishing protocols for how much energy they give to others in a single day. Sacred containers aren't about limiting the expression of divine gifts, but about creating sustainable ways to channel them. Just as a river needs banks to direct its flow powerfully, divine addictions need structure to be most effective. The second approach is developing what Weiss terms spiritual discernment. Not every spiritual impulse or calling needs to be followed immediately. Chosen souls must learn to distinguish between divine guidance and ego-driven desires for spiritual experiences. This discernment comes through meditation, prayer, and learning to feel the difference between the peaceful certainty of divine direction and the anxious urgency of ego demands. Weiss teaches specific meditation techniques that help chosen souls connect with their higher guidance and receive clear direction about how to channel their divine addictions most effectively. These practices help them avoid the trap of spiritual materialism while staying connected to genuine divine inspiration. The third solution involves building a supportive spiritual community. Chosen souls often feel isolated because their intensity can overwhelm others who aren't on a similar path. Finding and connecting with other chosen souls provides the understanding, encouragement, and practical support needed to navigate these divine addictions successfully. Weiss emphasizes that this community doesn't have to be large. Sometimes one or two other souls who truly understand the spiritual journey is enough to provide the support needed. These connections help chosen souls realize they're not alone and that their intense spiritual drives are gifts rather than burdens. The fourth approach is learning to practice compassionate detachment. While chosen souls are called to serve and heal, they must learn to do so without becoming overly attached to outcomes. This means offering their gifts freely while surrendering the results to divine will. This practice prevents burnout and allows them to serve from a place of joy rather than compulsion. Weiss teaches that true service comes from overflow, not depletion. When chosen souls learn to fill themselves spiritually first, their service becomes sustainable and even more effective. The final lesson involves embracing what Weiss calls divine timing. Chosen souls often feel urgency around their mission, wanting to heal everyone immediately or transform the world overnight. Learning to trust divine timing helps them understand that their gifts will be used when and where they're most needed, even if that timing doesn't match their personal preferences. Thank your higher purpose by leaving a like as a sign of connection and gratitude for this message received. As we begin to close this exploration of divine addictions in chosen souls, it's important to recognize that discovering you have these sacred compulsions is both a blessing and a responsibility. Brian Weiss reminds us that with great spiritual gifts comes the obligation to use them wisely and in service to the highest good. If you've recognized yourself in these descriptions, take a moment to honor the journey that has brought you to this understanding. Many chosen souls spend years feeling broken, different, or misunderstood before they realize that their intense drives are actually evidence of their divine selection. This recognition itself is a form of spiritual awakening that opens doors to greater service and fulfillment. The path of the chosen soul isn't always easy, but it's profoundly meaningful. When you align with your divine addictions rather than fighting them, you step into a flow state where the universe conspires to support your mission. Opportunities appear, the right people enter your life, and resources manifest to support your spiritual work. Weiss has observed that chosen souls who fully embrace their divine addictions report levels of fulfillment and joy that surpass anything they experienced while trying to live normal lives. This doesn't mean their lives become problem-free, but rather that their challenges become meaningful and their struggles serve a greater purpose. Remember that your divine addictions are not something to be cured or overcome, but rather powerful tools to be understood and channeled. They connect you to your soul's purpose and provide the energy needed to fulfill your spiritual mission on earth. The world needs chosen souls now more than ever. As humanity faces unprecedented challenges and opportunities for growth, those with divine addictions serve as beacons of hope, healing, and truth. Your spiritual intensity isn't a personal quirk. It's a gift to the collective consciousness. As you continue on your journey, trust that your divine addictions will guide you toward the experiences, people, and opportunities that will best serve your soul's evolution and your contribution to planetary healing. The universe has invested too much in your spiritual development to abandon you now. Comment, I align with the purposes of good and continue firm on my journey of elevation. So, what does this mean for you personally? How can you begin to honor and work with your divine addictions starting today? First, acknowledge that if these descriptions resonated with you, you're likely a chosen soul who has incarnated with specific spiritual gifts and responsibilities. This isn't about being better than others. It's about recognizing your unique role in the cosmic plan for human evolution. Second, begin to reframe any guilt or shame you might feel about your spiritual intensity. Those feelings of being too much, too sensitive, or too spiritual for others are signs that you're operating at a frequency that challenges the status quo. This is exactly what chosen souls are meant to do. Third, start honoring your divine addictions by giving them appropriate outlets. If you're addicted to healing others, find ways to serve that don't deplete you. If you're addicted to truth-seeking, channel that energy into research or teaching that benefits others. If you're addicted to spiritual growth, embrace it as necessary preparation for your larger mission. Fourth, seek out others who understand your journey. Whether through spiritual communities, online groups, or local meditation circles, connecting with fellow chosen souls provides the support and validation needed to fully step into your power. Finally, trust the process. Your spiritual journey is unfolding exactly as it should. The challenges you faced have prepared you for the service you came here to provide. The divine addictions you carry are precisely calibrated to support your soul's mission. Your sensitivity is not weakness. It's spiritual radar that helps you navigate the subtle energies of healing and transformation. Your intensity is not obsession. It's passion directed by divine intelligence toward humanity's highest good. Your restlessness is not discontent. It's spiritual ambition pushing you toward your fullest potential. The universe doesn't make mistakes when it comes to chosen souls. If you're here reading this, feeling these words resonate in your heart, it's because you have work to do. Your divine addictions are the compass that will guide you toward that work, and the fuel that will sustain you as you do it. Brian Weiss's research shows us that chosen souls who fully embrace their divine nature experience profound joy, despite the challenges of their path. They report feeling more alive, more connected, and more purposeful than they ever imagined possible. This could be your experience too as you learn to work with your divine addictions rather than against them. Right. I accept this spiritual guidance and move forward with courage and faith. Continue expanding your consciousness with the recommended videos. Remember, you are not alone on